Hi, this is Ilma Art Studios photograph for today. A beautiful pond in Menora Park. It's a park nearby Orangeville. Hi, check my website at ilmaarts.com for more artworks and photographs. Today I'd like to share Psalm 119 verse 71. It says, "My suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees." Here's my poem. Suffering's lesson. When I went through much suffering, I learned many ways of enduring. It wasn't pleasant during the experience, but later on it made me strong and resilient. God convicted me to heed His commands. I began to learn to cope with life's demands. I realized Jesus died a horrible death for me. My pain is no comparison to what He did for me. Here's my essay. Human tendency is to avoid pain. We want to ensure that we are comfortable and safe. When we get in trouble, the flight or fight mode kicks in so we can survive. When I was about a young girl, there was an earthquake in the Philippines that killed many people in a building that collapsed. It was early morning when it happened, so many people died because they were asleep when it happened. I watched on television how the victims were being pulled out from the ruins of the building. After seeing those dead people on the news, I began getting nightmares. Many years later, I still fear disasters, especially earthquakes. Several painful events ensued after that disaster. Many years later, the Lord convicted me and assured me from His Word that He was always with me and that He died for all those who are in pain and oppressed. Prayer. Lord, let me discern what to learn when I suffer. Reflection. How can suffering make us resilient and strong? Well, when you suffer, God allows that sometimes so that He will be able to test how far your character would go. He does not bring suffering to us, but He allows it because the suffering comes from the enemy. It doesn't come from God. But He allows it, and we need to take it like a teachable moment. When we're suffering, we must not always blame somebody, or when we're suffering, we must not always try to question or try to understand why we're suffering. But I think what we need to reflect on is what led me to that suffering. If it's something like a result or a consequence of something like you did, like a sin, then that is the law of sowing and reaping. What you sow is what you reap. Or you could also focus on what is God trying to teach me in this suffering. Is He putting somebody for me to pray for? Is the suffering being caused by somebody? And then you could probably pray for that person. Is the suffering a disaster? If it's a disaster, it's a natural cause. But sometimes it makes us understand or make us reflect on what we've been doing in our life. Because at the time that when we have a disaster, we think of like, oh, if I'm dying now, what could I have done in my life that will make a difference before I die? So these things are the things that we need to focus on. But sometimes when you're at the brink of death, that's the only time you try to find out your purpose or why you're here in this world. So, excuse me, don't wait until you're at the brink of death. But try to look at suffering as a teachable moment where you can learn something and you're going to be a good student. You're going to be wiser if you heed God's word. If you go to the scriptures, you will realize that sometimes God is teaching you something. Thanks for watching. I hope you check my website at ilmaars.com for more artworks and photographs. Have a blessed day.